college football teams were Toy Story characters, right? With the release of Toy Story 5 coming out, I thought this would be a fun video. Let's go ahead and get right into it, okay? You start with Woody. Woody is the staple of Toy Story. He is the OG. He is the classic. When you think of Toy Story, you think of Woody. From my biased opinion, obviously accurately biased opinion, the Michigan Wolverines represent Woody. When you think of college football, you think of Michigan. All-time winningest football team, largest stadium capacity, largest fan base. Michigan is Woody. Next up, we have Buzz. Buzz is Woody's nemesis at first, but they realize that the Toy Story plot line and everything is better as a whole when they work together, when their greatnesses are collided together. That is Michigan and Ohio State. When Michigan and Ohio State have a better rivalry, college football is back at peace and where it needs to be. Buzz is Ohio State. Next up, we'll go with Zurg. Now, Zurg is Buzz's daddy. We find that out in Toy Story 2. That could be a couple teams. I could obviously take low-hanging fruit and say the Michigan Wolverines are Ohio State's daddy as of recent memory, but I won't do that. And plus, we're already Woody. It could be Alabama. They're 4-1 all-time against Ohio State. But it also could be, and who it is the Clemson Tigers. The Clemson Tigers are Zurg. They've pretty much not been relevant since the release of Toy Story 2. I'm kidding. That was 1999. They won the championship in 2016 and 2018. It's a joke, okay? But yeah, they haven't been relevant in recent memory, just like Zurg hasn't been relevant in the most recent Toy Stories that have taken place. All right, next up, where does Alabama go? This is a good time to go ahead and place them with Bo Peep. Now, Bo Peep leaves the other toys behind because she's in a league of her own. She's the real dominant one. When you see her and Woody, she's actually the one who wears the pants in that relationship, right? She goes to a different setting because she's like, I'm going to leave you losers. Like, I'm so much better than you. She wins 6 championships on her own. And the only time the toys run into her are when they do so by accident. And they're like, oh, good to see you, Bo Peep. Running this show on your own. Now, obviously, that might change, and it probably will change now that Nick Saban's gone. But for the time being, Bo Peep is Alabama. Next, we'll go ahead and give Lotso a team, okay? Lotso used to be great. We were kind of rooting for him. We were like, man, it's been a long time since we've cared about Lotso. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a relevant toy back in the day. People used to scratch and sniff him, and he smelled good, and things were great for Lotso. Lots of love. And then he went all those years of being unnecessary and thrown around, and no one really cared about him anymore, and he just kind of got bitter, right? And then he started winning again, and he fooled us. He acted nice, and we were like, oh, yeah, good for Lotso. Good to see him get his, groove back. And to me, that's Georgia. We were happy for Georgia. They hadn't won a championship since 1980. We all rooted for him. We were all like, cool, Georgia got it done. It's been 40-something years. Good for them. Good for them. And then they got cocky and arrogant, and their fans got annoying. Sorry, it is what it is. No one likes Lotso anymore. You can't fool us anymore. We saw what you were like when you started winning again, and we didn't like it, okay? So no one's rooting for Georgia anymore. Georgia is Lotso. Now we have Slinky Dog. That's Michigan State. Slinky Dog follows Woody around everywhere he goes. He's obedient to Woody. He's his pet. He's his little brother. The Michigan State Spartans are Slinky Dog. Forky. Forky is this character that just kind of shows up in Toy Story 4. Never knew about him. He becomes very, very relevant in Toy Story 4. And if you haven't seen Toy Story 5 yet, he's also pretty relevant there. He plays a decent role in that movie. But we're still kind of wondering, like, what's the overall purpose of Forky? And, he's just this character that was made by Bonnie and is just this plain, ordinary, ugly character. He's relevant right now, though, right? He's where he needs to be. And this is perfect because it's the same colors as his team, pretty much. This is the Ole Miss Rebels, okay? Forky is Ole Miss. We're like, I don't know what to do with Ole Miss. I don't know what they're doing in the picture, but I can't deny that they're in this picture. Forky is Ole Miss. Now we're going to Stinky Pete. Now, Stinky Pete, just like Lotso, used to be important. Used to be really, really important in the set that was the original, characters with Woody and Jessie, and we'll go over her later. He used to be important in that role, and then he got tired of not being chosen anymore by anybody. He's just independent. He's just by himself. He's just he's just bitter. He's a bitter old man, pretty much. Used to be great, no longer relevant. That's Notre Dame. Notre Dame is Stinky Pete. Speaking of teams that used to be great, that no longer are, they're still very relevant in the college football scope of things, but they're not where they need to be. You know, we still love to play with them every now and then, but most of the time when we play with them, we dismantle them and never put them back together. Mr. Potato Head is that person, is that character, and Texas is Mr. Potato Head. And I'll just go ahead and throw it in there. Oklahoma is Miss Potato Head. Both were very relevant, both important toys. You know, cool for them for joining the SEC, but you're still not where you need to be. You're still not the greatest, and you know, we'll play with you. We'll let you play. We'll make you part of this movie, but don't ask to be a Woody or a Buzz or a Jesse or a Bo Peep. Okay, it's just not going to be. Next, Buttercup. Now, a lot of people forget who Buttercup was. Buttercup is actually a male. Okay, but the male is a unicorn, and he is very feminine on the exterior, but deep down inside, he's funny, he's quirky. To me, when I think feminine exterior, I'm sorry, I know people might get mad, but I can't imagine a lot of people in Los Angeles are watching this channel. They don't really like college football like that. Southern Cal is what I think of when I think of Buttercup. I think that's perfect. Buttercup, Southern Cal. Trixie. Trixie's this character who loves the internet, just loves to be part of the conversation, loves to type, as Lou would say, loves to just make sure that we know who Trixie is and is into pop culture, and she's important. We see her in the movie plenty, but we just kind of forget about her until she shows up every now and then in an important scene. That is Penn State, okay? Penn State loves to be part of pop culture, but usually is a bridesmaid and not a bride. Right? We'll stick with the Big Ten and now go with Gabby Gabby. And Gabby Gabby is this character who, she thinks, if I just get my voice box back, that's all I'm missing. If I get that back, if I get it working again, I can be important again. I can find my kid again, and my kid will love and adore me again. That's Nebraska. Nebraska is Gabby Gabby. They are like, I used to have this thing. I used to know what it felt like to be hugged and loved. And now nobody really talks about me unless they're making fun of me in my voice box. Nebraska, Gabby Gabby. Two of my favorite characters in Toy Story are Bunny and Ducky. They're just hilarious, right? They're always arguing with each other. One goes left when the other goes right. I don't know how you're seeing that, but whatever. One goes left when the other goes right. They would get so much further, so much faster if they would just work together and be great together, but they're always at odds with what to do, and they're always just making rash decisions. They're always bickering with each other behind the scenes, and people hear their arguments, but they're kind of like, that's just Bunny and Ducky being Bunny and Ducky. So we don't really care about their argument at the end of the day. They're not really relevant to the main cause anymore at this point. That is Florida and Tennessee. Florida and Tennessee are always bickering with each other, always arguing which fan base is better, always arguing which team is better, and everybody else is like, that's just Florida and Tennessee. They're just arguing, not going anywhere, not doing anything relevant right now, but they're going to argue about it, about what once was, right? Now, I'm not going to lie, I skipped over this character on this picture. I didn't see her. And then I realized right by Alabama, what ended up being Bo Peep in Alabama, was Officer Giggle McDimples. I had to look that up to remember the name. It's that little teeny tiny figure that if it wasn't for Bo Peep, I wouldn't have seen her. I wouldn't have noticed her. I wouldn't have cared about her. Just like if it wasn't for Alabama, I wouldn't have seen, I wouldn't have noticed, I wouldn't care about Auburn. Auburn has not been good for 7, 8 years. We forget about Auburn. It's this little thing next to Bo Peep. Alabama rules that state. That is who Auburn is. Rex is this character who is so silly to me because he's this big, supposed to be bold, strong, boisterous dinosaur, and it's like he just forgets all of those things about himself each and every time. Whenever the crew needs him and they're like, Rex, we need you to stand up here. We need you to be Rex. We need you to be this big bad dinosaur. He topples over. He freaks out. He has anxiety that's unknown to mankind and the rest of the Toy Story crew. And no one can figure out why Rex doesn't realize how big and strong and boisterous he actually is. That's the Wisconsin Badgers. That has been the Wisconsin Badgers for pretty much all of my life. They are a huge, homegrown, big football team that folds under pressure and freaks out and doesn't realize how big and strong they are anytime they play good competition. The Wisconsin Badgers are Rex. Speaking of teams that we would have forgotten about if it wasn't for this past season, Wheezy is this character that was thrown at the top of the shelf, right? In the back of the shelf. And he collected dust and got all nasty and dirty and had this wheezy cough and had lost his voice completely. And he was pretty much down and out. He was about to be done for, okay? And then all of a sudden, we find him, we dust him off, clean him off, and he turns into this great singer and has his voice back. And I realize that's Miami. Miami made it to the championship game last year, got dusted off, and now Miami's relevant. As of now, Miami is relevant right now. The U is back? Question mark? Miami is Wheezy. Next, Mr. Pricklepants. Another name that I had to look up. It's this person right here. And Mr. Pricklepants is, if I was naming 25 characters on Toy Story, somebody who I probably wouldn't list. I wouldn't think of. I would remember his character, but I wouldn't remember his name or anything like that. But he does show up. He shows up in these movies and he has this Shakespearean voice and he puts on a show and puts on an act and actually, makes things happen. To me, that's Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a team that I would probably forget about if I was naming 25 teams. They might not make my list of 25 teams, but every now and then they beat Alabama or some team like that. And I'm like, oh, Texas A&M. Good for you. Texas A&M, Mr. Pricklepants. The alien. You know the aliens that are like, oh, the claw. They're always like, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. And they finally get chosen and they don't realize, if you actually get picked, you're going to be thrown to the dogs, okay? You're going to be eaten alive by actual dogs, okay, if you get picked. You thought that was what's best for you, but you don't really know what's waiting for you on that other side. It's pick me girls, okay? And that is the South Carolina Gamecocks. Had to take my jab at them. Next, we have Dolly. And Dolly is this character who, she's a leader. She's at Bonnie's house with her other toys. She's a leader there. She takes on the role of leadership. But she doesn't realize that she really wouldn't be a leader pretty much in any other setting. It's just that Bonnie's toys are not as cool as Andy's toys and some others. That's why Bonnie ends up with Andy's toys in the long run. So she thinks she's his leader, but it's only because of the position she was put in, the people who are around her. And to me, I wanted to pick the best Big 12 team, the most consistent Big 12 team, because if it wasn't for the Big 12 being so terrible, this team wouldn't matter much in the grand scheme of things. They're just the best consistently in that conference, which is really, there's a lot of teams you could pick, maybe Texas Tech and some others. Baylor has had some good years. But to me, Utah has been the most consistent. So Utah is Dolly, okay? You're a leader. You're usually amongst the top, but it wouldn't be that way if you were in the SEC or the Big Ten. Closing down, 4 more characters. Next up, Big Baby. Big Baby is this character who sits next to Lotso and doesn't realize how big it actually is. You know what I'm saying? For the longest time, she's just old-fashioned. She's battered. She's bruised. She doesn't want to change anything up. She just wants to stay the same. And because of that, she just stays in her position of being a follower and being ignored by the kids at the playground. And no one wants to play with her, and she was just thrown aside and ends up in this daycare, right? So Big Baby, in my opinion, is Georgia Tech. Because what happened to Georgia Tech, right? They're sitting there alongside Lotso, Georgia. They refused to change from their triple option ways, which had success over years, but most of the time was, not good against good competition. It limits you way too much. Then they say, you know what? Let's just go to a spread offense or a pro-style offense, something that's not the triple option, and let's see what happens. And then Big Baby, if you remember, ends up throwing Lotso into the dumpster. Every now and then, Georgia Tech now can do that to Georgia. Okay, they're capable of doing that to Georgia. They have found their voice. They have found who they could be. And it all was because they realized what made them actually great. Don't stick with the triple option, okay? Change your ways, and maybe you can take on the Georgias of the world, the Lotsos of the world, every now and then. Now we go to Duke Kaboom. And I think this is perfect timing for this team to be Duke Kaboom. Duke Kaboom is flashy. He's fun. He's exciting. He's always putting on a show. every now and then he completely chokes under pressure and he's not very relevant or helpful in many ways. But occasionally, man, he comes through when you need him most. He's just funny, riveting, he's eccentric. That to me is LSU. LSU has been like that with Ed Orgeron, with Brian Kelly and his little voice change. Now with Lane Kiffin. You know, you got the offense that was the 2019 LSU Tigers. They are Duke Kaboom. They are like a flash in a pan whenever they're doing well, and then when they're not doing well, it's like, what's wrong with Duke? What's wrong with them? That's a perfect analysis to me. LSU, Duke Kaboom. Two more. Jessie. Jessie is this character who is the same way. She's fun, exciting, a little bit irritable, a little bit like off the cuff, does things that I'm like, oh, Jessie, I don't know, don't do that. But it's fun watching you. You're this character that wasn't in the original, but you've pretty much taken the world by storm. Everybody sees you, everybody notices you now. And if you haven't seen Toy Story 5, she's, to me, the most important character, the focal point of Toy Story 5. She's relevant here and now. She came, everybody was like, is she really going to be important? You know? And she stayed there. She has taken Toy Story by storm, and she is probably one of the main four characters in the movie, in the series as a whole. Indiana, the Hoosiers, have taken the college football world by storm. They're all over the place. They're wild. They're fun to watch. We're rooting for them, but we're like, oh, are they really going to do it? And they did it. The Indiana Hoosiers are Jessie. And finally, the last team for this list. They got taken for a ride by Indiana, right? So that's got to be Bullseye. That's got to be the Oregon Ducks. Oregon got obliterated by Indiana. And they just always seem like they're beloved in college football. Just like Bullseye's beloved in Toy Story. But are they ever going to be the groom? Always a groomsman, never a groom. When are they going to have their opportunity to be the main character? They're watching even the Indianas of the world be the main character. When are they going to be so important to the line that is Toy Story? When are the Oregon Ducks finally going to get it done and win a championship? Who knows? Maybe never. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is About University, formerly known as On Tap Sports. I'll explain everything in future videos. Give me a follow. We're talking college football on this channel. We'll see you in the next one.